Okay, guys, here's our first example. Here is our right triangle. And by the way, on your problems, you are probably not going to see your triangles drawn in this orientation. My recommendation is to, however your triangle is presented to you, that you reorient it, excuse me, in this fashion, so that we have A, B, and C drawn here with the altitude drawn in this orientation. So our three geometric means I've labeled as M1, M2, and M3. In this first example, we are going to solve for M1 and M3. Here are the ratios that we use to do that. You'll notice that in this first problem here, I've got a number 14. Well, that's because we need the length of this long leg here. So 6 plus 8 is 14. So here is our ratio. AB is this long leg here. AD is this short leg right here. So AB is 14, AD is 6. We are solving for M1, which is leg AC. I've just given it a label, basically, calling it M1 for the first mean we solve for. So here's our setup. It would be M, one in the numerator, one in the denominator. Doesn't care what side you go numerator and denominator to, as long as they are opposed to one another. And then our other two values would be 6 and 14. You would then solve this as you would solve any ratio by cross multiplying. So M times M is M squared. 6 times 14 is 84. To undo the square, we take the square root of each side. We get the square root of 84. We come up with a measure of M1, or this leg right here, as 2 times the square root of 21. If you are unfamiliar how to go from this step to this step, leave a comment and I'll show that to you. But most kids in geometry by this time have had Algebra 1, and a lot of teachers will do radical refreshing prior to doing this topic. So this should be perfectly clear to you. Again, if it isn't, just let me know in the comments section. All right, now we're going to use this particular ratio for solving for the bottom geometric mean. And by the way, the easy way to remember these, I've gone over in my last video. If you want to check that out, please do so that you don't have to memorize these. There's an easy way to remember them. And that's why I've grouped 3 and 1 together, because they're remembered basically in the same way. So here's our setup. We are again solving for M3. So here's that leg right here. Again, they're opposed to one another. My other two setups are DB and AB, 8 and 14. Again, we cross multiply, becomes squared, take the square root, and we end up with 4 times the square root of 7 is equal to that leg right there. Okay, guys, last example from example 1. Now we'll be solving for this leg here, because it's done basically the same way. It just uses different distances. It uses these two legs versus a long leg and a short leg. Here's our setup. CD, which I'm calling M2, is equal to CD squared. So it's CD on numerator and denominator. And it's going to be, sorry, my B got erased there. Let's fix that. It is going to be this length, DB, under this length, AD. So here's my setup, M2, M2, M2. For this leg here, 8 and 6 are the two values for AD and DB. Cross multiply, M2 becomes squared, equals 48. M2, or this leg right here, AD, is equal to 4 times the square root of 3. Again, if you don't see how we end up with that, leave a comment and I will explain it. Next up, we're going to show an example where instead of solving for the mean, we know the value of the mean, and we're going to solve for the distance of another leg. Okay, guys, our next example where we are given a value for one of the geometric means. In this case, we are given that value right there, 4. And as you recall, 3 geometric means. This is one of them, and we have the value for it. So we're going to be solving for this leg. Since we have the value for this mean, we're going to use our first ratio that I gave you in the previous video, and it goes like this. It is AB over AC, AC over AD. Well, in this case, we know AC, so for that value, we're going to fill in 4 for both of those. AB is this total length right here. We don't know the length of that leg. That's what we're solving for. But that total length of that leg would be 2 plus y. And then AD, we have that value given to us. That's a 2. So there's our setup. Now it's just a matter of cross-multiplying, solving for y, and we come up with a value of 6. That is for this leg right here. And if you want to draw that in, that's perfectly fine. We may need it, who knows? So let's just do that. We'll put parentheses around it, indicating that that is a calculated value. Okay, guys, last example. This time, once again, we are given certain values. One of those values happens to be the leg of a mean, or a mean, geometric mean leg. The value here is 12, so we're going to use the first ratio we were given on the previous video, which is AB, long leg, to AC. We are given that. To AC, once again, given that, to AD, which is the short value here. And on our problem, we are given this value, and we are given this value. And we're going to solve for this leg right here. And again, it's the what I call the M1, the first mean leg setup for the ratios. So our setup then would be 8 plus x. Well, because we don't know what that is, so it becomes 8 plus x. AC given over 12. This now is going to repeat and be squared or multiplied by itself. And then AD, again given 8. Cross multiply, here's the equation we end up with, solving for x. X equals 10. Okay, guys, any questions? Please leave them in the comments. If this has been helpful to you, great. Give me a thumbs up. Appreciate you watching. Keep up the great work. God bless. We will see you next time round.